بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to have one more session of Hikmatul Ishraq, Illuminationist philosophy before Nowruz holidays. I congratulate you for the arrival of the holy month of Ramadan and pray that inshallah all of us can benefit to the maximum from this holy month, inshallah. So we continue our discussion about the notion of light, and as you remember, we were talking about characteristics of light of the lights, Nurul Anwar, absolute light. We talked about the love that Nurul Anwar has for himself, and then the next characteristic is life. What I am discussing is from the book Introduction to History of Islamic Philosophy, درآمدی بر تاریخ فلسفه اسلامی, volume 3, from page 65, as we did last week. So the next characteristic is life. It is very interesting that without following Sheikh Ishraq way of thinking, in my own search and interest, I had come to the topic of life and then light, and therefore in the last I don't know, more than maybe 14-15 minutes I'm giving lectures on life and light, and I believe that these are two important concepts in the Quran that can explain everything, like the concept of truth, al-haq. So Sheikh Ishraq says that one of the characteristics of the Nurul Anwar, light of light, is hayat, is life. Hayat and nur, or life and light, for him are musawiq. Musawiq, as we said in philosophy, is more than musawi. In the discussion about wujud and tashakhus, we said they are musawiq. Musawi means two things have the same instances. One of the nisab arba'ah, one of the four relations, is tasawi. When two kulli, two universal concepts, share all their instances, they are equal, meaning they are musawi. But musawiq is more, means not only they are equal, but from the same aspect that one is applied to those cases, the other one is also applied. So when we say wujud and tashakhus, existence and individuation, are musawiq, means they are equal, plus for the same reason that one is called being, it's also shakhsi and individuated, and vice versa. So nur and hayat or light and life are musawiq. Everything is nur is light. Everything is everything is nur is existing. Everything is existing is light. From the same perspective. So Nurul Anwar, which has unlimited light, is absolute light, is the same as life. It's the source of light. It's the spring or source of light. And life for him is essential quality. It's sifat zat. It's not sifat fail. It's sifat zat. Even if we don't consider anything next to it, it has life. Then there is a discussion about two types of sifat or attributes for Nurul Anwar. Attributes of essence, attributes of fail, action. So life, power, essential dominance, qahr dhati, knowledge about himself, love for himself, these are qualities that Shaykh Ishraq says they are all essential. They are identical with the essence of Nurul Anwar, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't believe in any accidental or arazi or additional za'id bar zat, anything other than zat here. Sifat za'id bar zat are none of these things. Then, in contrast, we have relational attributes or qualities of Nurul Anwar, like knowledge about other things, or to be gracious towards other things, fayyaziyat bima siwa. So anything else is receiving something from Nurul Anwar. So Nurul Anwar must have a quality that permits that, and that is fayyaziyat. So he's gracious, he's the most gracious towards others. Raziqiyat, to be sustainer. So whether it is knowledge about others, whether it is love for others, whether it is fayyaziyat, etc., all are sifat zat. Of course, love for others, maybe it's better to leave it aside because, as I said, it's a complicated issue last week we said. So for him, love for him, others goes back to love for himself. So just focus on knowledge of others, razaqiyat, which is for others, and fayyaziyat. So he says all these are for fail, and they go to the fact that he is mabda, he is the origin, he is illat, he is the cause. So because of that, he has these qualities with respect to others. One of the qualities which we talked is fayyaziyat. His graciousness, his generosity is a quality of action. And he can, through this graciousness, either illuminate a kind of substantial illumination, ishraq jawhari, to make something exist, or make accidental illumination to give a additional quality, additional light to something that exists. Inshallah, we will talk more about it. We talked already last week about this, the difference between ishraqat jawhari and those which are arazi. So one of the qualities of Nurul Anwar is his generosity. This generosity is a result of his essence, but it's something that it's showing itself in action, because any quality of action must be rooted in something in the essence. Then one of the qualities that Sheikh Ishraq also talks about, Nurul Anwar, in action, is nearness to all beings. He is nearest to every being. He is the nearest to every being. And he explains that the reason, the secret here is the nature of light. Light means ظاهر بنفسه مظهر لغيره. When something is ظاهر بنفسه, then there would be no distance, no barrier between this and the other side, as far as this is concerned. As far as this is concerned, if something doesn't want to be close to the light, that's another issue. So the light which is stronger is closer, and the light of lights, which is the absolute light, the strongest light, is the closest to every being. And it is interesting that he doesn't believe that Allah has remote relation with the lower beings, because philosophically there is a tendency to say that the highest being, the ultimate being, the uncaused cause, is connected through some lower levels of existence. So for example, there is 1, 2, 10, maybe more things in between. So he is close to the first being which comes from him, but not to the second, not to the third. The one which is closest to the second is the first ma'lul, the first effect. There's tendency philosophically to think like this, but as I said before, in one of the lectures, I don't know was in this course or another course, that what we understand from the Quran is that Allah is very close to all beings. There is direct relation that he has with all beings. He doesn't need to, connect to the lower ones with the help of the middle ones. Even if he has decided to send his grace to the lower ones through these channels, but this doesn't mean that his knowledge, his connection is limited by these channels. These channels are most to give capacity of reception to the lower ones, to help them. Otherwise, he is very close to the lower ones. So, this is my idea, and it seems that I don't want to say Sheikh Ishraq has exactly the same idea. Maybe he has, but I don't want to attribute something to him that he may not be happy. So, he says that the light of lights is very close to all the beings, and then inspired by the author Sayyid Yazdan Panah says that inspired by Islamic teachings, he believes in Tawheed Af'ali, which might be similar to what I said or might be different. What he means here is that he, inspired by Islamic teachings, says that every action is an action of God. You can attribute everything to God, even if, for example, we do something. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى اللَّهُ يَتَوَفَّى الْأَنفُسَ. Although قل يتوفاكم ملك الموت الذي وكل بكم or الذين يتوفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم. Malaika, angels of death, will receive the soul. Malakul Maut receives the soul. But we say Allahu yatawaffa al-anfus. This is Quranic Tawhid Af'ali. So it says that he was also inspired by Islamic teachings and very much emphasized on Tawhid Af'ali. So although he has accepted that there is a hierarchy of light and they have cause and effect relation in the hierarchical one, not in the horizontal one, there is cause and effect relation between them, and every one in this hierarchy has impact, has influence on the lower ones and can even give existence to the lower ones. But the highest, the light of the lights, has his own qahr wujudi, existential dominance over the entire hierarchy, including the lowest ones. I read for you few lines which are very interesting. نور پایین تر هرچند مؤثر تلقی گردد در نفس تأثیرش خود را مقهور نور عالی می‌یابد. The lower light, for example, the one which is under God, or the one which is under what is under God, whatever is under God, although it can be mu'assir, it can have influence, it can, bring to existence something, but would realize that even in its ta'asir, in its influence, it's under the control and dominance of the higher light. It's not that there are two independent agents, one of them is under the other. For example, in our human system, we have, for example, deputy of an office and head of an office. The authority of the deputy comes from the head, but the deputy is somehow independent, may disobey the head, for example, or maybe even more capable than the head, may do things that the head cannot do. But in this system, hierarchy is not like this. The one who is deputy, the one who is this lower, and then above the lower ones, knows that he is in absolute dominance, under absolute dominance and control of the higher one. در حقیقت قهر و هیمنه وجودی نور عالی امکان استقلال را از نور پایین می رباید. Indeed, the existential control and dominance of the higher one, higher light, takes away the possibility of independence from the lower light. It's not that the lower light says, it's better that I remain under my boss, under my higher ones. It's better for the sake of harmony or avoiding confrontation, or for the sake of being able to continue my job, I should listen, I should obey. No. It's existential dominance, and the lower one is fully acknowledging dependence on the higher one. در نتیجه نور پایین تر مجرای اثرگذاری نور عالی در معالیل خواهد بود. This then makes the system in the way that those which occur in between, they become channels. They're not independent. So they become channels for the higher light using them and working through them. Not that they say something to the lower one and then they delegate authority to them and then they do the rest. بر این اساس نور الانوار که در عالی ترین مرتبه انوار قرار دارد فاعل حقیقی و خلاق مطلق خواهد بود. So the true fa'il, the true doer or agent, and the absolute one who is creator and has creativity is the highest one. And everything is just majraya phase, is just a channel for his graciousness to work and for his grace to go down, to pass down through them down. Okay. The next issue is about the Nur Aqrab. So this was a brief discussion about the Nur al-Anwar. Nur Aqrab, Aqrab with Hamza means nearest, is the first light which is created by Nur al-Anwar. What you may call Sadr Awwal, the first thing which is issued from Nur al-Anwar. The first effect, which is cause for everything lower. So, he believes that Nur al-Anwar is absolutely basit, simple. It's not compound. There are no parts inside Nur al-Anwar. As we say in philosophy, that Wajib al-Wujud has no parts or partners. Parts is inside, partners is outside. So it's completely basit. Therefore, would not create many things in parallel to each other, many things independent from each other, many things next to each other. Because as we say, al-wahidu la yasduru anhu illa al-wahid. So he says that دو یا چند معلول از نور الانوار پدید نمی آید. Two or more than two effects would not happen, would not come from the light of the lights. Meaning in the same level. Otherwise millions, billions of things can come from Nur al-Anwar. But even two things cannot come in parallel to each other, independent from each other. زیرا تعدد معالیل از تعدد جهات و نبود بساطت خبر میدهد. Because as we say in the discussion about Qadi al-Wahid, if there can be more, a multiplicity of effects from the same cause, each of them must be because of one thing, one aspect in that cause. For example, if someone has, I simplify the issue, if someone has different sciences in his knowledge, he knows fiqh, he knows philosophy, he knows tafsir, he knows literature, he can write different books. Each of them is originating from one part of his knowledge. But if someone has only one knowledge, then can only write on one subject. I am simplifying the issue. So, if it is absolutely simple, then how can two independent things, kathir bima huwa kathir, come from that? It's not possible. Now, we should look for a candidate that can be that one thing which can be coming from Nurul Anwar. We said we cannot have two or more at the same time, at the same level. So what is that single thing that can come from Nurul Anwar at the beginning, at first? This material world cannot be that candidate. Why? Because this is the lowest. This is the darkest. If this was the first thing, then there would be nothing else coming. Because this is the lowest. There is nothing lower than this. You cannot have creation of human beings or angels or intellects under the material world. So they cannot be Sadr Awwal, they cannot be the first thing. The first thing that can come from Nurul Anwar must be light. A strongest light in the universe, a strongest light among the creatures, a strongest light created by God. Not as strong as God because He's absolute, but strongest among creatures. به گمان سهروردی این معلول نخست نمیتواند عالم ماده و جوهر ظلمانی باشد. This first effect cannot be the material universe and dark substance. زیرا جوهر ظلمانی هرگز علت فاعلی برای معلول دیگر نخواهند. جواهر ظلمانی هرگز علت فاعلی برای معلول دیگر نخواهند. Because dark substances can never be originating cause for something else. They are themselves in the lowest level. Therefore it means that we should have only Nurul Anwar and Jawahir Zulumani, nothing else. This is not acceptable. So then, what should be the first effect? Nur mujarrad wa aql mufariq. It must be abstract light, immaterial intellect. Sadr Awwal must be the nearest, the closest thing to God in perfection. The only thing is that it has everything from God. لا فرق بينك وبينهم إلا أنهم عبادك. They have everything from God. This is the big difference, of course. It's not a small difference, it's a big difference. But when it comes to abilities, they have been given by God abilities that He has as much as a finite being can have. So they are the closer thing. شیخ اشراق معلول نخستین را نور اقرب و نور عظیم می نامد. He calls the first cause, Sadr Awwal, he calls it Nur Aqrab. It's not Qarib, it's Aqrab. It's the nearest light. Or Nur Azim, great light. In the universe, under God, although the greatest light is Nurul Anwar, but this is also Nur Azim. And he believes that this was the same thing that Pahlavid philosophers in ancient Persia, they used to call Bahman, which is also put as a name for the 11th month in solar calendar. He says Bahman is the first light coming from Nurul Anwar. Then there is a question that he can easily answer. The question is, what is the difference between Nur al-Anwar and Nur Aqrab? What makes them different, although they are all light? The answer is tashkik, the greatness of light. The one which is Nur al-Anwar is similar to Nur Aqrab, just it's stronger. The same idea that Mullah Sadra used for existence, for being, for tashkik fil wujud. It is first discussed about beings, and Shaykh Ishraq used for being. So a higher being means it shares with the lower being light or being existence, but it has something more. It's stronger. It's not totally different in the sense that they have no similarity, nothing in common. No. The same thing that they differ is the same thing that they are common in. The only difference is the degree. Otherwise, if we say that Nur al-Anwar has Nur Aqrab plus something else, it leads to Nur al-Anwar being compound, being murakkab. Now, how does Nur Aqrab come from Nur al-Anwar? How this you can call issuance, how this origination take place, how this intisha, insha and intisha, fi'l and infa'al. How this intisha, how this coming from Nur al-Anwar take place? The answer is what you already know, Ishraq. Nur al-Anwar through izafiye ishraqiyye jawhari is created. As we said, we have izafiye ishraqiyye jawhari for creation. Izafiye ishraqiyye arazi is not for creation, is for additional thing. So with this illuminationist relation, which is substantial, Nur Aqrab is coming to existence. Since it is izafi ishraqi, there is no separation, there is no independence. It's not that Nur al-Anwar projects something from himself outside, in the sense that is no longer with Nur al-Anwar, it's separated, it's disconnected, projecting outside by throwing away. No, it's not like that. It's not that takes a piece of light from himself and throws it out. No. It's just like a tree that issues a new branch. A branch is still part of the tree. The branch has sub-branches, or they have, leaves, but not being separated from the tree. So the tree is extending itself, but in a weaker or lower way than its essence. And then it continues. So وی نفس اشراق جوهری نور الانوار را برای ایجاد کافی می‌داند. He believes that just the fact that there is اشراق جوهری, there is substantial illumination, is enough for creation of Nur Aqrab. So Nur Anwar does اشراق جوهری, and Nur Aqrab is created. وی نفس اشراق جوهری نورالانوار را برای ایجاد کافی می‌داند. چنین اشراقی تنها به نورالانوار اضافه یک سویه دارد و بدان متکی است. So from one side, because we said it is not اضافه مقولیه, it's not relation between two different things. It's اضافه اشراقیه. It depends on one side. One side brings out the other side. And relation and the related come from the first side. Nothing is reduced from Nur al-Anwar. Nothing is separated. Nothing is missed. And then he believes the same idea, the same process happens for other types of being. But in addition to substantial illumination or ishraq jawhari that leads to the existence of Nur Aqrab, also Nur al-Anwar has accidental illuminations, ishraqat arazi. And the reason is because Nur Aqrab is very much loving Nur al-Anwar and has capacity for receiving more. All the lights, as we said before, they have shuhud, they witness each other. Therefore, Nur Aqrab has shuhud of the highest Nur, Nur al-Anwar, and understands the beauty, the perfection which is there, and understands that I am nothing, I am empty, I am totally dependent. This understanding of his poverty and dependence and nothingness is a new element. So now we have here a multiplicity in a sense. In Nur al-Anwar we didn't have this aspect. Here in Nur Aqrab we have this aspect in addition to being light. This allows to have then two beings coming from Nur Aqrab. One is the next light which comes, and then another one is what he calls barzakh muhit, something which is not very much a matter of light and intellect, something that can lead to having little by little material things, like the idea of aflak and uqul ashara in masha'in. The only thing is that, or there are many things, but one of the main things is that Shaykh Ishraq doesn't believe that it has to be 10. He says there can be many, many intellects till we reach the point that we can have the level of multiplicity that we have in the material world. So نور اقرب نیز با چنین شهودی نسبت به نور الانوار قهر وجودی و جلال و شکوهمندی او را در برابر فقر و ذلت وجودی خود و نیز بی فروغ بودن نورش در برابر نور الانوار را با همه هستی خیش در می‌یابد. So the nearest light, the second light in order, the one which is right after Nur al-Anwar, would understand completely that how much he is poor, how much he lacks, how much he is dependent compared to the great light of Nur al-Anwar. و این دو جهت, these two aspects which we have here, seeing all the beauty in the Nur al-Anwar and seeing all the poverty in itself, then منشأ پدید آمدن برزخ محیط و عقل طولی پس از خود می شود, which we discussed before. Okay, then what we need to discuss is Anwar Qahire. Anwar Qahire or A'laun are hierarchical, similar to the idea of Ughul Ashare, the 10 intellects of Mashaun. Just there are differences, especially the number is not fixed to be 10, but it's similar idea. And then Ughul Arziye, not Araziye, Ughul Arziye or Anwar Arziye, which Mashaun didn't accept. Mashaun accepted Ughul Ashre, hierarchical ones, but they didn't accept the idea of Plato about Ughul Arziye. So Sheikh Ishraq brings both Ughul Ashre, which are hierarchical, but it can be much more than 10, and accidental ones. So we have Anwar Tuliye, which are Qahire, Anwar Arziye, which are next to each other. So there is no Qahr and Ghalabah. They are not controlling each other or dominant over each other. They are horizontal. But the hierarchical ones, each has Qahr and dominance over the lower ones. So these are the two types of light that now we need to discuss. I am conscious about your iftar. How much time we have now till your Maghrib?
I think we have 15-20 minutes.
And you go home?
To iftar. We already talked to Mr. Maktabdar to connect the class from home.
Okay, you are from home. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe few more minutes, and then inshallah you can get ready for Salat and Iftar. So, Anwar Qahire or A'laun. These are coming after Nur Aqrab. We have Nur al-Anwar. We talked about Nur al-Aqrab, which is the first after Nur al-Anwar. Then under that, in a hierarchical way, we have Anwar Qahire or A'laun. These are Mujarrad, these are Uqul Mufariq, these are independent intellects, not intellect of human being. Each of them creates the lower one. So it's a cause and effect system. The difference again here, like we explained between Nur al-Anwar and Nur al-Aqrab, is in weakness and intensity, the strength and weakness or weakness and intensity. Because tashkik, ma bihil imtiyaz and ma bihil ishtirak are the same. What makes them different and what makes them similar is the same, it's light. The only thing is that the degree of light is different. Again, it comes through Ishraq Jawhari, so the top one brings into existence, the other one through substantial illumination. The number is not fixed. He only insists that we should have so many of them that can help us to reach Koreye Thawabit or Falak Hashtum, the eighth sky in its own special philosophical meaning, that we can have all the multiple, stars there. Plus, we must also have multiple ideas of Plato or Uqul Arziye. So all these katharat must be possible. So he believes that within 10 levels we cannot reach that much of multiplicity. If you remember, when we were talking about قاعدة الواحد, we said الواحد لا يصدر عنه إلا الواحد plus الواحد لا يصدر إلا عن الواحد. We said واحد can only create واحد, or simple can only create simple, and simple also can be created by only simple. It was mutual. Shaykh Ishraq accepts al-wahid la yasduru anhu illa al-wahid, as we said. But he has no problem with wahid coming from multiple. So there is no problem if few things have role in creating one thing. صدور بسيط از مرکب, issuance of simple from compound, it's possible for Shaykh Ishraq. Therefore, there can be many ishraqat and many illuminations from different sources leading to one thing. Of course, you wonder whether it is really then wahid, or it's one being, but maybe not really absolutely wahid and simple. So sometimes you look at something and say wahid, but it is not wahid really. Anyway, he has this idea. These hierarchical lights, they are called qahira because unlike the horizontal ones, they have dominance over the others, each on the lower ones, and they are called a'laun. They are at the top because the physical world is under. Even the light which we have above the physical, because physical world is qasiq and dark, but even, for example, lights which are above the physical world, like light of human soul, are under these lights which are mujarrad. So they are a'laun, they are higher. Nur al-nufus, like human souls, are lower. Musul aflatuni, or accidental lights, are also lowers. Therefore, he sometimes called these hierarchical ones, in addition to qahire and a'laun, he called them sometimes usul, principles, or ummahat, the mothers, the main ones. Then we have discussion about anwar قاهره ارضی, not طولی. They are qahira compared to the things which are under them, because they are archetypes for the things which are under them, but they are under a'laun. Shaykh Ishraq has the idea, inshallah we will discuss this next week, but just I am preparing your mind. He has this idea that unlike Masha'un, we need to accept these muthul of Aflatun. And he says that he himself, in his mukashafat, in his mystical experiences, he has witnessed them, he has seen them, or has done shuhud of those muthul of Aflatun, those ideas of Aflatun, those accidental intellects. So this is a very interesting discussion, and inshallah we will discuss this bi'idhnillah in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Do you have any question, any comment?
Thank you, Sheikh.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. We need your du'as when you are breaking your fast, inshallah, and praying.
Inshallah, as well, you say for us dua, inshallah.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you. التماس دعا.
التماس
التماس دعا. خدا نگه.
Thank you.
خدا حافظ.